about Gremlins 3?
There is no Gremlins 3.
Oh, hello there.
Hello!
Thank you for joining us once again. We're to the Doctor Who podcast.
Yes,
Doctor Who.
Discuss episode. This is episode 113, the 113th serial, State of Decay, or should I say story? Because eventually there's just going to be one episode stories.
I forgot our intro.
Oh, hello, I'm Hatter. This is Holden, and we're here to do Drunk Doctor Who.
Today's episode is not sponsored by Cayman Jack's Margarita.
Not sponsored by anybody. We wish it was sponsored. We get free alcohol.
What are you drinking today, Hatter?
I'm drinking Tito's vodka, made here in Texas.
All right.
And I have a little bit of Rumpelmints. Rumpelmints.
Oh,
it's schnapps.
Schnapps.
Should I run out of vodka? Right. Anyway, so this is the 113th episode, State of Decay, the 113th August story. Today is March 6, 2023. The number of episodes, 4. It was aired originally from 11/22/1980 to 12/13/1980. The companions are Romana, K9, and Adric. The antagonists, vampires. You want to state their names?
I can.
Yeah. Alright. So yeah, essentially the bad guys in this are vampires.
Spoiler.
And the lord of all the vampires ever. Like the king of the vampires.
Dracula.
No, not Dracula. The one that used to literally consume planets. The Great One is all we have. Anyway, here's the State of Decay. Alright, and the main three principal bad guys, besides the Great One, is this triumvirate here of O'Connor. That's O'Connor.
Yeah.
Okay. The other names?
Sharky.
Well, yeah, but
Then becomes known as Zargo.
Zargo, and then Camilla.
Mm-hmm.
Camilla. So Akon, Zarky, Zargo, and Camilla. Anyway, so this was the scientific officer, the pilot, and the co-pilot of the original ship. And they'll come into play here in a little bit. Alright, anyway. The Doctor, Romana, and K9 are flying around E-Space. They, unbeknownst to them, Adric is stowed away on the ship. They don't know that yet. Alright, here we go. There you go. Unbeknownst to them, Adric is stowed away on the ship. And they're looking for a way out of E-Space. This is the second of the E-Space trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is Warrior's Gate.
Warrior's Gate.
They're looking for a way out of E-Space, and the Doctor's like, well, there has to be something around there. Is there a planet anywhere? And K9's like, well, way out on the far reaches, there is a planet with slight signs of civilization and habitation.
Civilization.
Yeah, and habitation.
Singular.
So, yeah, singular. So they go there. And they take the TARDIS there, and it looks a little bit like Mississippi. It's not. I mean, it's got to be somewhere in the United Kingdom, but it looks a little like Mississippi. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Alright.
Miscellaneous missiles.
So anyway, the Doctor and Romana leave the ship. The Doctor tells K9 to stay. Adric has not been discovered as of yet. Nope. The Doctor and Romana wander off, and they head towards the village. There's basically a tower and a village, and that's it.
That's it.
And they're talking about levels of civilization, and the Doctor's like, well, maybe they chose to be mostly rural, mostly agrarian. It's like you shouldn't judge them, you know. And they wander into the village. Before they wander into the village, there's a guard, Iko. Ivo?
Habris?
Yeah, Habris.
Ivo's the real old guy.
Yeah, he's the leader of the village. There's Habris. And apparently there's a selection amongst the more able-bodied people in the village every so often. They don't state how often.
Hunger Games type thing. It was unusual for it to be 2 consecutive days in a row.
Right, but that comes up later. But yeah, kind of Hunger Games-ish. Kind of Wrinkle in Time-ish. Where people in Wrinkle in Time fight to win events, and then if they win the events, they're the youngest and the strongest, and they get to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a bit of both of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and also just a smidgen of Princess Bride, where she's chosen for youth and beauty,
right?
And then he wants to kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not a vampire, but not Princess Bride. No vampires. Anyway, so they take several people, some young, some middle-aged, including Ivo's son.
Mm-hmm.
And they get chosen to go to the tower.
Calmer?
The tower.
Oh, Ivo. Okay.
Yeah, they get chosen to go to the tower. Then the doctor and Mana show up, and these people are like, wait, we don't know you. You're strangers. They're like, yeah?
I don't know you either.
You don't know you. He's like, well, we could be from the next town over. He's like, there's no next town over. There's the tower, there's the town. That's it. Everybody knows everybody. It's kind of like Abernathy.
It's not the hospital, it's hospital.
Not the town, just town.
Just town.
Yeah.
Town or tower?
Not the tower, just tower.
Just tower.
So the doctor's like, well, we're from out somewhere.
Out of
and so they're freaking out, and the guard comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Did we ever get the name for Ivo's wife?
Tarek? I don't think so.
Okay. She's there, and she's a speaking part very much.
Oh,
so.
yeah. She tells the kid to go hide in the corner.
Yeah, and she helps Adric and stuff. Yeah. All right. So in the meantime, Adric comes out of hiding inside the TARDIS interior. And K9's like,
K9.
What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. He says, remember me? I'm Adric. Yeah. Well, you're not supposed to be here. And he's like, oops. Well, I'm going to go out and look for Dr. Romana. And K9's like, well, no, you shouldn't. That's dangerous. He said, well, wait a minute. I'm a stowaway. You said I wasn't supposed to be here. So the faster I leave, the better, right?
That's logical.
Yeah, K9's like, that's logical. Computers are only as smart as you program. And that's why the second Doctor, Troughton, hated computers.
He really did.
Yeah. Remember Wotan?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, Adric goes out. In the meantime, the Doctor and Romana, what's his name? Hargon or whatever? Tabar?
Kelmer? Havis,
yeah.
Habris.
He goes off to the tower and goes, hey, they're strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 people there, the 3 here on the picture that I showed you, that have this particular eye shading on their eyes.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're different. One's the king, one's the queen, one's the advisor. But apparently they're the ones in charge, you know? And they're like, strangers? What strangers? And so he said, Halvar, wait, what was his name?
Which one? Habris?
Habris, yeah. Habris is like, my lord, my lady, because he's only seen peasants and lords.
Mm-hmm.
And the Doctor and Romana carry themselves because they're Time Lords. Yeah. Straight back, commanding presence. So he assumes they're lords. Mm-hmm. Which they are. But he tells them at the tower, he's like, they were lords. We're the only lords. He doesn't explain. He's not really given a chance to explain. He's like, okay, I'll go find them. And then O'Connor Right. Is like, no.
It's
I will
like
send my bats.
17.
Yeah, the 17.
Yeah, I'll send my bats after him. Fly, pretties.
Right, and it shows that he has mental powers of the bats, much like Dracula or whatever.
The doctor's like, don't worry about it. They're harmless.
Yeah.
And as it bites his neck, and he's like, well, in theory...
They had already gotten captured by the Druidic technology people. The rebels
after
in the
they
woods.
ran for it.
Yeah, so they go into the woods. They are looking for the next village. They can't believe there's just one village and one tower. So there are these rebels in the woods in brown cloaks, look like druids. Take them in, and the doctor helps them fix some of their early Earth technology, late 20th century.
Yeah, capital rate tube TVs.
Yeah.
Got smacked for the display to come on.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the punch cards come up later. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, the cathode ray tube, and there's all this information, and the doctor starts getting it out of the computer. Turns out that there was a ship that crashed here from Earth 1,000 years ago, and it went through a wormhole into E-space, just like the Dr. Romana did. And it crashed, and it showed the officers, the main three, and one of the guys is like, what's the name of that guy?
O'Connor?
No.
Sharky?
No. The guy who was a previous guard, who is now a rebel, who is going to become a guard again to help rescue the Dr. Romana later. Tavers or something? Or
Calmer?
Calmer, yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy Calmer is like, and they all have beards. Calmer's is fake. There's another guy who's fake, but the main scientist guy, because the doctor would ask about scientists, is an older guy, and he has a shorter white beard, which is real. You can tell it's real. I like that. Like mine. But anyway, so Calmer's like, I know them. That's the king and the queen. Alcon, Zargo, and Camilla. That's them.
You notice how Zargo had that octopus beard going on with the curls?
Oh yeah, the long curls. Yeah.
Very Hunger Games. They're grabbing children. They have the Hunger Games beards.
This is long before the Hunger Games.
It's very post-apocalyptic Civil War type Fallout.
Yes, but also very Spanish. Everything looked medieval Spanish.
Yeah.
All the outfits of the royalty, all of the I wouldn't say the weapons, but the entire decor was very Spanish.
Yeah.
Even the king and queen with the dark hair, you know,
the octopus beard,
and a little bit of shading.
Brutal medieval arena style entertainment, plucking up children to suck their blood. You notice how their makeup is like a sparkly crimson, like blood?
The thing there,
yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, the Dr. and Romana are talking to the techno guys, technophiles, the older scientist. What was his name?
Ivo?
No. That was the leader of the village. Scientist.
Calmer. Tarak?
Tarak? Huh?
Tarak?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
So, they're talking to him, and they get the scanner, and they get the other things going. And Tarak's apparently in charge, because he's the oldest scientist there, and the rest are just rebels. And Calmer's like, hey, these are our prisoners. And Tarak's like, no, they're helping us. I'm in charge, and they can go as they please. And so the Dr. and Romana leave, and
unfortunately,
in the meantime, Adric has made his way out. He's made his way to the village, and he's trying to get food.
Yeah.
And the wife of Ivo has made some stew, and Adric tries to get some stew, and then when he gets caught doing that, he tries to get some bread.
He's not great at the sleight of hand.
No, he's a mathematician.
He got caught last
not
cereal
great.
too.
Yeah. So he ends up, he says, look, I'm just looking for my friends. It was Dr. Romana. And Ivo's like, well, there were strangers here. And Ivo's wife, who we do not have a name for.
Nope.
I don't know if it was in the end credits, she was given a name or not. Or just Ivo's wife or whatever. or maybe matronly lady. I don't know, but we didn't look that far into the credits. Anyway, she's like, no, his friends may come back for him. They went to the tower, but they may come back, and he's a lad. He's a youth. We must help him. So she feeds him. He asks for cheese. They don't have cheese, apparently. She feeds him some stew, and she gives him a jacket, which was their sons who got taken to the tower. Yeah. They're hoping he's going to become a guard because they don't know what happens to the rest of them, but they figure they die. And so Adric's helping out, and he's very, very...
We gotta go
rebellious.
Out to the world and make a change. It's like,
I've got to go find the Dr. Romano.
This is life for us. We're here to serve, and you work until you're worn out, and then you die. He's like, not me. That's not my fate. I'm not consigned to that. Meanwhile, we have Romana and the Doctor trudging through the forest, and lots of bats.
Yes.
End of episode 1.
So wait, Akon sent out the bats to look for him, and the Doctor and Romana are going around. The Doctor's like, it's just bats. They're harmless. And then a bat bites him. No, gets him like on the arm.
I thought it was like his
neck.
face.
No, I think
somewhere.
Neck or face, but
yeah.
He's like, well, that one was a little carnivorous.
Yeah.
So they're running from the bats, and then they fall.
End of episode 1.
Well, she looks up, she points at a big swarm of bats. End of episode 1.
Did you notice how the first cutaway was the bats just blacking out the sky, like the full screen was just bats?
A good bit, yeah.
And then the next cut up to the sky, bats were in like a wavy pattern.
In episode 2, yes.
Yeah, and then it looked like there's a Spotify logo in the bottom left-hand corner.
What?
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see a Spotify.
There's like a watermark in the bottom left-hand corner that looked like Spotify.
No, there is no Spotify.
So I was about to pull my phone out and scan the wavy sound wave line of the bats were making.
What the hell are you talking about?
We'll have to... It was there.
I don't understand what you're saying. I don't want to...
There's a Spotify watermark in the bottom left-hand corner.
Of the DVD. The Blu-ray, sorry.
Yeah.
Here's the DVD, but we actually watch it on Blu-ray, because it's out on Blu-ray.
You know the Spotify logo, the sound
no,
waves?
I don't.
Oh. Sound waves.
I believe this
weird.
may be a thing, but I haven't seen this Spotify thing.
I feel like they replaced some stock footage.
Alright, so episode 2, they're trying to go to the tower to talk to the lords.
Yeah,
and turns out they're like, oh, bats. And it's episode 1's cliffhanger. It's just a non-cliffhanger. There's no problem or it's just, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they get up and they walk and they run to guards. And the guards are like, you're coming to the tower with us. You're expected.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, we're wanting to go to the tower.
Yeah. Works for me.
Yeah, works for you. Thank you for inviting us into your lair. We appreciate it. So they follow the guards into the tower. They get taken to the main room.
Dialogue, exposition.
Exposition. Yeah, this is a fairly... Okay, like so many of the serials this season, there are 4 episodes. All 7 serials are 4 episodes. They're all pretty tightly knit. There's maybe one that's not as tightly knit. The Keeper of Traken. Most of the rest are all tightly knit. And they would have been like 6 episodes back in the day. They would have extrapolated a little further and it would have been 6 episodes. But at this point it's not. It's 4 episodes, tightly done. We're good, we're done, we're over. Straightforwardness, you know?
Did they ever do the thing with the Deadly Assassin and the Suntarn experiment where it's like 4 episodes and they tack on 2 more episodes? They're a different serial.
Okay. The Suntarn experiment was only 2 episodes. You're thinking that's a different one. You're thinking of the Invasion of Time, where there was the 4 episodes, and then they tack on the 2 of the Suntarans.
Yeah. But then the Suntarn experiment was also like a 2 episode.
That was 2 episodes. Earlier in Tom Baker's run.
Yeah, and it was a direct continuation of the Hive
Well, that entire season was
Yeah.
one straight
Just like
linear
back to
deal. Yeah.
Do we have any more seasons like that in the future?
Not really. Most of them have breaks, except for the Trial of the Time Lords, which is Colin Baker's second season, which is pretty much straightforward throughout, much like Tom Baker's second season was straightforward throughout, which is the one you're referencing.
So they don't really stick to the, or they stick more to the.
There could be a break here. There could be a break there. Non-super linear.
Yeah.
But Tom Baker's second season, season 13, was incredibly super linear. Colin Baker's second and final season is also incredibly linear with Trial of a Time Lord, which was 14 episodes, and that is season 20?
Are we going to watch
Season 23.
14 episodes?
Season 23. But it's broken up in America in 4 parts.
Oh, yeah. So
4-4-4-2.
So we're going to watch it that way. 4-4-4-2.
Yes, because that's the way it's broken up.
We're not going to watch all
story-wise
episodes
in America, yes. And that is one of the great differentials between us and the UK. The UK views it as one story. We view it as 4. The same way we count Shada, they don't necessarily count Shada. Although I hope they do now that it's actually got a full release, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's those are the 2 main differences between us and the United Kingdom.
So you don't want to sit down and watch 14 episodes back to back?
You remember us with the Daleks Master Plan?
Yeah, the 12 episodes.
Yeah, or War Games.
I don't remember.
You don't remember War Games for a reason. No, we're doing the American cuts at 4-4-4-2.
Oh, good.
Good,
right.
yes. We will never have, at least thus far, any time where we sit down for that long of a period, with the possible exception of Flux's 1 story, 6 episodes of Doctor Who.
So we will watch all of Flux and then maybe watch...
No, in theory we could watch the
Prince.
6 episodes of Flux because it's one storyline in a straight go, and that's 6 hours, like the 12 episodes of the Daleks Master Plan, and then do a podcast.
So the Daleks Master Plan, 12 episodes, was preceded by Mission to the Unknown? Or the
No, well, yes, but it was 2 back. In the middle was the Mythmakers.
Did we have a standalone podcast for this single episode?
I think so.
We did one episode podcast?
I think so, because it's a 1 episode. We did other stuff at the same time.
It was still like an hour and a half, though, right?
Well, no. Well, the podcast, I don't remember how long the podcast was. We can go back and look at it. But it was just 1 friggin' episode, you know?
Our podcasts are normally longer than actually watching through the serial.
Not necessarily. Our podcasts are usually shorter. That podcast might have been longer.
I'm going to compile the whole channel statistics.
Go for it.
We're close friends, right, Heather?
Yeah.
Every Valentine's Day, sometimes you do like a clean shave.
I have done that occasionally, yes, in the past.
Next time you do that, like the day before, can I come do like a haircut? We'll do the Zargo octopus beard with the curls in it.
Every once in a while, before I shave my beard off completely, I'll do something fun or silly, like mutton chops, yeah, something. And it usually doesn't work well. But it doesn't matter, because you're shaving it off probably the next day anyway.
Yeah. You ever do just the mustache?
No, I don't like a mustache.
No?
No, it's why I shave it. Because it tickles my nose and I can't sleep at night. It gets in my food. I mean, I don't like a mustache.
Saves you a snack for later.
That's why I have this.
The
Yes, it's my flavor saver.
You see those guys with the super big beards, and they'll mold them and style them into like different birds and like a trimmed hedge, you know? And one guy made a bowl out of his beard and just put ramen noodles in it.
Okay.
Pretty weird.
Yes, pretty weird.
Just a bird nest. So episode 2.
Radagast.
Yeah.
From the Hobbits. Which was the 7th Doctor.
Oh. Really?
7th Doctor. Top right. He's also Radagast from The Hobbit.
Like, I didn't recognize him.
Yep, that's him. But yeah, that's kind of bearded hair he had.
Radagast is a chump.
Radagast the Brown.
Isn't that a horrible title?
Why?
The Brown?
Well, I mean, there were different colors, like the gray, Gandalf the gray, and Saruman the white, and stuff like that. He was
Gandalf the White.
Well, after he upgraded.
And then Brown.
Think of it like different levels of
Karate
martial
belt.
arts belts.
Yeah, brown is the bottom. That's the
No.
White, brown. You want to go with the black.
Yeah, but the lower ends, yeah. But it is what it is.
You ever do any martial arts? Self-defense? Boxing? Sports?
I boxed once with somebody, a little bit of fun. Did not care for getting hit in the head.
No, that doesn't feel good.
No.
I think I have a glass shot myself. I don't know how people put up with concussions.
Some people do better than others with that.
So
okay.
Episode 2.
Okay. Any questions from episode 1?
Episode 1, we're in green E-space.
Yeah, everything is green. Not black like regular N space, but green.
A Wrinkle in Time-esque. You think the Dark Guardian can track them through E-space?
That's something I mentioned. The good thing about being in E-space is the Black Guardian cannot track them.
How do we know that? Does it allude to that later?
No. It's just something you assume because they're in a
Okay.
different friggin' universe.
So they no longer have the randomizer.
Well, yeah, they haven't had the randomizer this entire season. He tossed it off and they went
direct local jumps.
Right, but there was only like a couple of episodes before a couple of serials before they went into E-space.
Right. So there's a bit of a debate going on. So the Doctor in this episode says forever is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly that wouldn't fly with David Bowie, who in Labyrinth sings forever it's not long at all. Do you concur? Do you stand with Baker over
that's
David
all
Bowie?
Relative. And in fairness to Baker, he's alive and Bowie is not.
Ooh.
So forever is still going on for Baker, but not for Bowie. And that is a cold way to look at it, but
that is very pretty.
God, I don't even like that myself, but yeah, there's my answer.
So E-space is a lot like N-space, but smaller. N-space is where Earth is from.
Yes, that's the universe that we know.
So do we have an A through Z space?
No. N is for normal, E is for whatever the hell it was.
Extraterrestrial.
Extra something.
Extra spicy. That's about it for episode 1.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
No deaths.
No deaths yet, but we catch up later.
Well, episode 4 is brutal. Alright, episode 2. Oh look, bats! Oh look, they're all going into the tower. So our cliffhanger was not much of a cliffhanger.
The Spotify logo right there.
Yeah. So, like I said, Romana and the Doctor get picked up. They get taken to the tower by the guards. They meet the King and the Queen. And the King and the Queen are like, welcome. I mean, they're very hospitable. Welcome, here, have some wine. Turns out it's a bull's blood, the Doctor says. And then Romana pricks her finger on apparently an imperfection in the glass she's holding. Drops the glass, probably breaks it.
And then that's when Camila turns into the shark from Finding Nemo. Like fish shark. Is that blood? Let me see. And she grabs the older wrist and she
goes all vampire on it. And
she's like, it's just a bit of blood. Don't freak out about it.
To be fair, I don't think Tom Baker has ever played a vampire.
Never.
However, David Bowie did.
Oh, there you go.
The hunger. Ooh, so I might have to give props to Bowie in this particular case.
What was David Bowie playing in the Labyrinth? He's not.
He was the Goblin King.
A Goblin King.
The Goblin King.
The Goblin King.
Jareth.
Is that what sort of mythology is that? Is that like an Irish thing? European mythology?
No bloody clue. It's gems.
Just like a fantasy
mythology.
thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. So anyway, Ramon the doctor. Ramon's like, ooh, pricks. She's like, such a big deal over a few drops of blood. And Kamal's like, Camilla. Anyway, so.
Pushing the things back in.
Yeah.
Retractable.
And of course, at the repast, the feast, wasn't a whole lot of feast, but, you know.
If you would like to have you for dinner.
Yeah.
One time, Lord.
Two times. Yeah. So they obviously were not partaking of it because they needed different nourishment. Alright, so they leave immediately because there was what was it?
Archon says hi. He shows up
well,
with his fantastic bloody face makeup.
He found Adric in the village on the second day in a row of a choosing, which was so unusual. And he says, "Oh, this is the first of the chosen ones," because he has a mind that cannot be invaded. He masks himself as a dumb peasant, but he is a smart mind.
And then Ivo's wife is like, "I volunteer as tribute," and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, wait, Grandma."
She did not do that.
And they drag him away.
Anyway, so they take Adric back to the tower, and Alcon's really big about all this. And so the king and queen leave the main chamber, and they leave the Dr. Ramana there. And Camilla is like, and if you need anything, there are many guards outside.
Yeah.
Many guards.
Don't try leaving. And
Yeah, many, not small. Many.
Many guards.
A bunch of guards. So the doctor's like, looking around the room, he goes, you know what? This seems like a spaceship. This tower is a spaceship. He's like, this seat, he sits down, he's in the left-hand seat, and America, that'd be the driver's seat. He says, this would be the pilot, and that'd be the co-pilot, which is the king and queen throne. Romana's in the co-pilot. He says, no. This is the co-pilot, and that's the pilot, which makes sense because they're British. So the driver's on the right, the passenger's on the left. And he says, now he has to look for the inspection hatch. And he looks around the room, the inspection hatch. In the meantime, Romana has found the inspection hatch. And so the Dr. and Romana go in the inspection hatch, and they're looking around.
The engine room.
Yeah, they end up going pretty much to the top of the tower, which is the main control room for the rocket ship.
Or cathode ray tube TVs
and stuff. There's just
punch
a
cards.
little bit of not the punch cards yet. Just a little bit of energy in there, and then they hear this boom, 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 boom.
Very heartbeat-esque rhythm.
Yeah, and Romana's like, that's some machinery. There's like, I don't think so. So the Doctor and Romana go all the way down to the very bottom, and they come out. What looks like the rocket ship propulsion,
thruster shaft.
Yeah, and they come out
1000.
and they're looking around. And the Doctor's like, that's a heartbeat, Romana.
Yeah,
this was a heartbeat.
Gross.
And they see an area of fertile cave floor.
So it's like a bioorganic. So like in World of Worlds, have you seen Tom Cruise's World of Worlds, the remake?
Yes.
Where they're harvesting the blood and they're spraying it and growing blood crops.
Okay. Well,
so it's kind of like this veiny cave, like.
Right. In the meantime, the Dr. Romana had gone through several levels, and one of the levels had a bunch of crypts that had fully drained and now at this point mummified or embalmed corpses.
Yeah, so they're going
Like
down
20 of them.
this elevator through the rocket ship shaft, the technology. Then they go to the blood bank where they have all the abducted people that have been sucked dry, and then they descend into like the womb type or cavernous organic place where the slumbering Dracula is sleeping.
And the doctor opens up he says it's self-contained fuels containing human blood. And there's the pipes going from these places. Very macabre. Very, very, very macabre.
So vampires, their diet consists of a lot of blood, right? Very
human blood generally, sometimes swine blood.
Yeah. Very, very iron-rich diet.
Yeah.
Why are they so pale? Why are
They're
so
British.
Oh. are all vampires British?
Have you not read Dracula? They can't be in the sunlight. Of course they're going to be pale. Seriously, that's how it works. No sunlight, no tan.
Is it the UV part, the ultraviolet? Like, would a tanning bed also make them ash?
Who knows? But anyway, so yeah, they go through all this, and he realizes it's a vampire. He realizes what's going on. The doctor realizes, hey, these people are feeding something. They get down to the basement, and in the basement of the tower, which is the bottom of the rocket ship, which the doctor has now figured out is an Arrow ship coming from.
It is a Arrow class airship.
Yeah. So they get down the basement. The doctors are like, and he's thinking about it, and then they turn around, the Dr. Romana, and there is Archon.
Archon, he says hi. End of episode 2.
And he says, this is the resting ground. This is my domain.
This is your doom.
And
end of episode 2.
They focus on his eyes, end of episode 2.
Which means Doctor Who in 1980 did Sparkling Vampires before Twilight did, because they're sparkly red, crimson.
They are still not in the sunlight, sir.
They're sparkly eyeliner.
You stop that. No sparklies.
So upon witnessing these buggy old 90s Earth technology, cathode tube televisions, ticker tape type stuff, he says...
We're talking 70s, actually.
Yeah, this technology is in a state of decay, like a kind of Mad Max-esque...
Well, the state of decay comes in while we're talking to the king and queen. And the doctor's like, well, yeah, this is such a state of decay. Your civilization was here and it's gone down to here.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the reason for this is that, well, we're going to find out in a minute. The doctor knows about this legend of a king of the vampires that sucked whole planets dry.
Yeah.
But
at this point, they are just now discovering that, well, they think it's a multi-generational thing. As their technology is in the state of decay from generation to generation, it's kind of like Leela's homeworld planet type situation. Where, like the survey team has, through phonetic speech, devolved into Sevetine and the Sevetine tribe. So here we have O'Connor as O'Connor.
Well, that's only so much
and
more.
Sharky as Argo.
Well, that's only so much as in the phonetics, not so much as in the technology.
The point is they've been here for a while.
1,000 years.
And over these generational periods, they haven't been keeping up with their technology, because what happens when you don't know how to make televisions anymore?
Well, when they don't allow the people to know how to read.
Yeah.
That was a key,
Guarding technology. Very Catholicism type of thing.
I'm going to use the restroom, get a refill, you keep going.
Oh, sweet.
Get to episode 3. Yeah.
Alright.
And I'm sure when I see this later, I'll hear all this insanity you talk about. Because I will see this later.
No, you never watch.
I always watch.
It's always a secret movie type. It's just you and me, guys. Heather's gone. We can do all the things he doesn't let me do when he's here. So, end of episode 2, Archon says hi. Episode 3. So, episode 3, what happens? Now that the main cast, the Doctor and Baker, they're confronted with a bad guy vampire trio, they launch into their hypnotic eye connection they're trying to hypnotize the doctor. The doctor's resisting. He says, "No, no, you will not hypnotize me. My mind is not so weak." But they do hypnotize Romana too pretty well. Boop. Audric he's Audric. So they get locked up and in prison once they realize that the doctor's a Time Lord and he's resistant to their hypnotization, so they throw him in jail. And then they're trying to think of a possible escape. How are we going to get out of this prison? How do we get off this planet? And how are we going to continue to navigate through E-space? And they start, bouncing ideas off the wall. The doctor's kind of brooding and thinking as he's faced with this decision he doesn't know everything about. And so his pride is kind of on the line. And then Romana too goes, she starts spitballing through some of the TARDIS features, and she's like, hey, back in the day, they outfitted the TARDISes with this one feature, specifically the Type 40s, and the doctor's like, hey, our TARDIS is a Type 40, so I don't remember what the feature is. It was so important. But there's something special about the TARDIS Type 40. Even though it's an older model, it was equipped with something important. Also, K9, he's just going on a rampage at this point. He's breaking in. Remember, the doctor called on K9. He said, this sounds like a job with someone with a nose laser. And then, so K9's going through, he's blasting people. He gets to the prison. He lets out the doctor and Romana. He unimprisons them. The doctor says, good boy, K9. Also, give no quarter. Set yourself to aggro mode. So K9, it's at this point where we just start catching up in death counts. Like, we went from no deaths episode 1, no deaths episode 2, into the serial, it's like 10, 11 deaths. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people die in the last 2 episodes. Like, 7 of them was episode 4. So, you see K9 just kind of blasting people. Hey, Heather.
Hey.
Okay. We're at the end of episode 3, where Archon's like, I want to suck your blood, after he just cornered the Cass, and we're talking about K9 and his nose laser.
Okay, so
we also talked about their attempted hypnotization, the doctors being resistant to that. Yeah.
It's like, that might work on the peasants, it doesn't work on me.
Speak no evil.
So that's so weird. Their salute is, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
It's a very long salute. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see people just kind of...
Well, yeah, like the guy in the forest. And he runs away.
Yeah.
Alright, so did you talk about the first death?
Lord. Yeah. We talked about how it's like no deaths episode 1, no deaths episode 2, and then it just starts to skyrocket 3.
Very
then like
end of episode 3 is
7.
the first death.
Yeah, and then episode 4 is just
and the first death was Kevlar, or what's his name?
Yeah. That guy.
That guy.
Turek?
Turek.
Oh, Kalmar.
Okay, the very first death is Kalmar.
Yeah. So they're kind of cornered. They're surrounded by the vampire trio. They're like, we're going to suck your blood. And end of episode 3.
Did you talk about how Adric was determined to be a chosen one, and they're going to make him...
Yeah, so Adric at this point, after he comes across the vampires, he kind of turns into the Minji Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where he's in the chariot eating the Turkish delights. He's just like, ooh, I can have wealth and power, yeah.
And they promised to turn him into a vampire, make him eternal, and make him have him all that he wants. But he only he doesn't really go in for that. He's kind of like, okay, I'm still looking for the doctor. There you go.
Yeah.
Get some more. We need toast.
Toast.
Yeah.
Toasty.
We haven't toasted yet. And he's like, okay, go for I'm looking for the doctor, I'm looking for Romana, I want to help them. And anyway, but the doctor ends up leaving, and going to the TARDIS to get information from K9 about everything. And he's looking for information because he and Romana were talking in the cell, and the Doctor remembered what the third Doctor, so Mentor, who was the guy in Planet of the Spiders, was that old guy on the mountain in Gallifrey, apparently, told the Doctor about this deal about the vampires. And the Doctor's relating this to Romana. Romana's like, well, I worked in the ancient documents in the library for a while, and I came across the record of Rassilon. It talks about them, and it states these things, and she's like, they put that on the TARDISes in the Type 40s. And I was like, the what? She's like, the Type 40s. She's like, the TARDIS is a Type 40. Thank you, Romana. You're wonderful. And I was like, oh, thank you. Anyway, so they break out, and they're trying to get out of there thanks to Kalmar, or whatever his name is. And I was like, well, I have to go back to the TARDIS. Romana, you go help save Adric. Because Romana's like, we have to save Adric. And so Romana and Kalmar go in to save Adric. Doctor goes back to the TARDIS. And the Doctor ends up in the TARDIS using punch cards because K9 cannot find anything in the databanks, but the punch cards will unlock this information. And if you remember punch cards, those computers from the 60s and the 70s. I worked with one in the early 90s briefly, but it was from the 70s. Just like in grad school, I worked with it very briefly, like 2 classes, because then I dropped out. But anyway, Doctor finds all this information. All the vampires who could destroy all these worlds were killed by the Time Lords, except one, the king. He got away. He disappeared from time and space. So he went into E-space. And he's the one who brought this ship and all of its inhabitants from our universe into E-space to create them and make them his servants. And the top 3 of us, direct servants, and all the other generations serve them and him indirectly. And the Doctor finds out. Yeah. So, episode 3, Romana and the guard are trying to get into there. They find the sleeping chamber of the king and queen, and they find Adric. Come in. And they find Adric, and they're trying to wake up Adric, but they wake up the king and queen.
Yeah, Adric, he just turns into a young Anakin Skywalker. What?
You're unzipped.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Alright. Anyway. Alright. Cheers.
We just edit that part out.
No, we're not editing anything. That's the whole point of a friggin', not live, but the whole point of an unedited broadcast.
You broadcast this?
Oh, yes, no. YouTube. Alright. So, anyway, the Romana and Adric are there, and she's trying to save Adric, and the vampires wake up, and they kill, what's his name?
I don't know. Kalmar? Tarek?
I think Kalmar,
Starliner. Zargo.
No.
Hydrax.
No.
Camilla. Adric.
Alright, they kill the guy who used to be a guard who's now a guard again.
Habris.
And they're like, oh, his blood is cold and stale, even though he just died. So they go after Romana.
Yes.
And Adric. And that's the end of episode 3, which this is the first time we have an actual ending, a cliffhanger that's a really, oh my god, they could die cliffhanger. The other two,
suck your blood, the vampire trio.
Yeah, the other two are like, no, it's not really a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's like
as much
bats.
as this. Bats. Oh, eyes.
Icon is like eye.
This is the first real one. It's like a real cliffhanger. Do you have any questions about episode 2 and episode 3?
Doctor got hypnotized, kind of. Not really in episode 3, almost. But then later
He fights it off.
But then kind of, maybe. I don't really know how to deal with hypnotization when it doesn't explicitly say.
Hypnotization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
the master is.
There's a DM, and then the doctor made his role privately behind the DM screen. It's like, I don't know if he's hypnotized or not. I think he was.
Is that a question? Where's the question?
Was he hypnotized?
Not really. No.
Not really ever. What was special about the TARDIS Type 40? Why was it special that his TARDIS
because
became
that
with
was the particular TARDIS they put the Book of Rassilon into.
The Book of Rassilon, which is a tutorial guide.
The Record of Rassilon, yes.
It's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Kind of.
Kind of? Really?
Yeah, and explained everything if you use the punch cards to get the information out of it.
Punch cards. Yeah.
I talked about that while you were gone.
How many different versions of K9s are there?
At the moment, I think 6 or 7.
Wow.
We're on 3 or 4 here.
So
2 or 3.
Do you think we'll ever get a K10?
Maybe.
Okay.
Why?
Just wondering.
What does K10 have to do with anything?
Well, when do you go from K9 to K10? Like, eventually.
No, it's K9 Mark.
It's like
1,
A
Mark
space,
2, Mark 3,
B
Mark
space,
4.
C space,
Mark
E
5.
space, N space.
Preparation A through G's didn't work. Preparation H, it worked. Yeah.
Not to suck your blood. So this serial was directed by showrunner was Uncle Terry.
No, the script editor.
Editor.
Script editor was Uncle Terry. Terrence Dix.
Terrence Dix.
Yeah, also known in the Doctor Who community as Uncle Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
they're really bringing back the sort of goofy Hammer-esque film.
not as much as 4 seasons ago, but a little bit, yeah.
Just a bunch of vampires kind of sombering around, hissing. It's just
Episode 4, yeah. they do that a lot in episode 4, yeah.
episode 4. Speaking of,
Alright. Alright.
how does that one go?
So, you have this ending of episode 3 where it's like, oh, Romana and Adric are about to be bitten by the male and female, the king-queen vampire, respectively. And then Balkan comes in. He's like, no, you cannot touch him. He's talking about Adric. He is the first of the chosen one.
So Adric's kind of like a young Luke Skywalker. No, Anakin Skywalker, I mean.
God.
He's the chosen one. He's corruptible. Greedy, kind of.
Malleable.
Yeah.
That's the term they use, malleable.
That's what
And
our
he says,
said, yeah.
and you cannot mess with her, talking about Romana, because she's a Time Lord.
Time Lord. She must be sacrificed.
She wants to be sacrificed to the Great One, so you cannot have her. And they said that about the Doctor earlier.
Yeah.
In
Vlad
episode
Dracula Tapish. Dracula.
Well, Dracula comes up, but yeah. Doctor's like, no, I don't want to hear about Dracula.
Castlevania.
No.
They ran out the timeline to the Castlevania games, and then they ran out of... Because Dracula can only come back once every 100 years. So they ran out of, centuries. So now all the new Castlevania games, they have to be in the future.
Okay.
So like you have Dracula and Dracula's Castle in 2022, or 2200.
Okay.
And there's like robots and stuff.
Okay.
It's just when technological points of history intercede, like the state of decay of technology, kind of Mad Max, post-war apocalypse, kind of people are Fallout kind of stuff.
I have not done or seen Fallout.
Well, I mean, like after war, technology reset, whatever the term is for it.
Dystopian, post-apocalyptic.
Yes.
Okay.
There wasn't necessarily an apocalypse. There was a force of nature, which were the vampires that kind of...
Cheers.
Alright, so we get all of our questions pretty much answered in episode 4.
Okay, yeah. So, all the other 3 episodes, an entire one person died. Episode 4, we have scores of deaths. How many total?
10 total.
10, okay. So, the head of the village, Ivo, decides to attack the tower.
Mm-hmm.
In the same instance, finally the doctor shows up with the TARDIS, and he convinces all the scientists of the rebels to attack the tower. At the exact same time, some of the guards are figuring out that being a guard is not in their best interest. They decide to attack the tower.
Because Habris is talking to Akon, and he's like, "You're go out and do your job." And he's like, "But they're invading." He's like, "But your job, you're a guard. You're meant to die. So go out." And
your job is to die. It's like, what?
Morale is not high.
Exactly. So, the 3 vampire lordish people have decided that the best thing to do is to wake the old one, but he's waking up anyway. The doctor has figured out that the only way to kill this vampire king is to run it through the heart with a steel bolt.
Yes.
Which is from a bolt ship?
Caltro. Yeah.
Bolt ship.
The Arrow class ship was actually like a bow and arrow. It shot.
The bolt ship is what they said.
Yeah.
The
Arrow
Tyrant
class bolt ship.
So the doctor ended up going into the ship,
Stakes the heart.
programming the ship to shoot straight up, and emergency come straight down. In the meantime, the rebels and the townsfolk have taken over the tower, killed all the guards, with the help of K9, who's gone into offensive mode.
Yes. We're talking about that.
Yeah, lots of deaths. Or at least 10 deaths.
Give no quarter.
Yeah, give no quarter.
Aggro mode.
So eventually they clear out the tower. The doctor sets the ship up, and right as this vampire lord is coming to fruition and his claws coming out, the ship,
the full moon, clock strikes midnight.
Yeah, the
ship does a
ship comes straight down and pierces its heart and
misses
dies.
it completely. Oh, I think it missed.
No, it hit. It does.
And then he turns into a bat and flies away.
No.
Because then they go over and they look at it and it's just stuck in the ground. No corpse.
What the hell are you talking about? No,
there's no
dead.
corpse. There's no corpse.
It's dead. The proof is in the pudding.
There was no proof. There's no body.
When the triumvirate
no body.
pass away.
They lost their power. Their power line did get severed from their...
Anyway, so the vampire lord...
Vampire. He dies. So it's like the control ship in Star Wars and all the droids like fall over because the control ship got blown up by young Annie. Now this is pod racing.
Okay,
so they wither away and die because they're no longer... Their artificial lifespan is no longer being...
Vampire Lord is killed, pierced through the heart by the ship.
He might have been killed.
No, he was absolutely killed.
He was through the Earth's crust, so we didn't really get to see. All we saw was his hand, and then a rocket ship in the Earth.
It's not the Earth at all. All right,
the
E-Space Planet on the Edge.
What was the name of the planet?
Oh God, they never named the friggin' planet.
Okay.
All right. So
if you could name a planet, what would you name it? Steve?
Fred. Whatever.
Yes.
Steve. I don't think. All right. So anyway. The giant-ass vampire king is pierced through the heart by the ship.
Supposedly.
Absolutely. The doctor, Romana and Adric High, the doctor's sitting there. The 3 of the triumvirate come after the doctor. However, their powers are now gone because the space vampire king is gone.
Like the Dragon Flight and all the work rat.
Anyway, so they age rapidly and turn to dust.
Wither away.
Right. The leaders of the resistance show up and they're like, okay, everything good? Darth's like, yep. You need to pages are this, this, and this, and everything's good. And the Doctor and Romana and Adric leave in the TARDIS, and he says, "You have all this information. You're good if you want to become a high-level technological society." And that's the end of episode 4.
End of episode 4.
All right. Any more questions?
How do you feel when they clash fantasy with sci-fi? Does it feel goofy? I feel like there's no longer a relatable frame of reference to where it kind of breaks the immersion, because you have the suspense of disbelief in sci-fi and in fantasy, but when you combine the both, it's just like constantly outrageous things happening, and you're like, eh.
Fantasy and sci-fi are nearly interchangeable.
Oh no, in the future.
No.
You
Like
can have
Star
fantasy
Wars.
in the future.
Star Wars is a sci-fi fantasy, and they pulled it off.
Right.
But if you were to introduce fantasy into like Star Trek, a sci-fi series, that would be awful, right?
Fantasy and sci-fi, that's why they're put in the same category, are fairly interchangeable.
Medieval fantasy, magic.
No, I mean,
Sci-fi technology.
You have science fiction, which is technology we don't understand yet,
Yeah.
and it looks like fantasy to people.
Yes.
And you have fantasy
Science fiction.
that could theoretically be science fiction. That's why they're put in the same category a lot of times.
Magic. You're playing D&D? How's that going? Rabbit people?
Yes.
You play often? Weekly?
Bi-weekly. Mostly bi-weekly.
You enjoy it?
Yeah.
Is there sci-fi elements to your fantasy campaign?
Probably.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, folks. Good to see you.
Alright, so
5 News.
So there are 3 more serials.
I've been Ron
finished with
Burgundy.
them. You're Ron Burgundy. Alright. Next serial is the end of the East Base trilogy.
Jack Lime.
That's Warriors Gate.
East Face trilogy. 3 serials left. End of the season. End of Tom Baker.
Yes.
We lose
Yes.
our companions.
Next
Romana too. We might keep Adric, but who really cares about Adric? Adric cares about Adric.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining
Alright.
us.
So Warriors Gate, Keeper of Traken, Legopolis, and that will end the 7th and final season of Tom
Can you
Baker.
name those 3 serials 3 times fast for me?
Warriors Gate, Keeper of Traken, Legopolis. Warriors Gate, Keeper of Traken, Legopolis.
Fast.
Warriors Gate, Keeper of Traken, Legopolis. Warriors Gate, Keeper of Traken, Legopolis. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Anyway, that'll be the end of Tom Baker. He comes back. We mentioned this twice more.
Only twice.
Once thus far, he's still alive.
Thus far.
Once in the 5 Doctors, the 20th anniversary special.
That means Troughton passed away.
Troughton's still there for that serial.
Troughton hasn't passed away yet?
Okay,
Hartnell has.
in our time or in the 5 Doctors' time?
Our time.
Yes. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Doctors have all passed away.
Baker has?
Baker is, no, that's the 4th Doctor. He's the
Okay.
oldest one still
Pertwee
alive.
passed away.
Yes.
Okay.
He passed away. We'll see
Who do you
Tom
think
Baker.
is next? You want to get really dark?
Tom Baker.
I think it's
No,
Oh.
Tom Baker.
No, I think Tom Baker's going to outlive all of them.
He's in his 80s.
There's going to be a tragic plane crash. I'm an astrologer. I saw the stars. I've been playing a lot of video games. It's my prediction. A
No.
lot of celebrities die in airplanes. Like a scary amount.
Small plane crash. Yeah.
Celebrities, they live to like they're 102, and they only ever die of plane crashes and cancer.
Alright, hold on.
Because they're reptilian aliens, right? They don't have heart attacks.
There are reptilian aliens later in Doctor Who. Anyway, so we have 3 more shows with Tom
Did
Baker.
they work in the government?
He shows up twice more in the 5 Doctors, which are clips from Shada.
So he didn't actually make an appearance.
They're clips from Shada, right?
Re-edited.
And the 50th anniversary special, 30 years hence, from where we are.
Baker does? That's
Yeah.
3 times.
No, twice. 20th anniversary and the 50th anniversary. Twice.
When's our anniversary? We're going on like
Oh,
4 years.
5 years.
5.
June 11th will be our anniversary. Will be our 5th anniversary.
You think we'll finish up with another 5 years?
No.
No? 6?
It'll take longer.
Longer?
Yep.
So this is a longer than a decade we're looking at here.
Yeah. But June 11th, we will hit 5 years. And who knows, 116, 117, 118 episodes.
How's your weekly schedule? Like, do you have an off day, like a free time day that you always, like an evening, like a 4-hour period in your week?
Wednesdays or Thursdays? Why?
Wednesdays. So, someone walks up to you, they say, "Hey, you're a cool dude. You free Wednesday? Are you free for on Wednesday for the next 10, 11 years? You all hang out for a couple of decades.
Well,
Watch some Doctor Who."
That's what I asked you 5 friggin' years ago, you know? Have you seen Doctor Who? You're like, no. You want to watch it? Yeah. Are you free for the next decade? Yeah. Okay, we're
That was
good.
not a part of the application.
Yes, you were. You were there. And you know what? It's all good.
Thank you for joining us once again.
Mm-hmm. And it is all good. And we'll be here for the next... We've been here for 5 years. We'll be here for the next 5 years. Yes.
Maybe. Till we get banned from YouTube.
We're not getting mad. I mean, we're on Rumble if you're not...
We're on Rumble?
We're on YouTube. Yes,
That's the
we're on
one with all the ads on YouTube.
I have no bloody idea.
Rumble is advertising on YouTube.
I have no idea. And why aren't you wearing a belt?
I was. How do you know?
Alright.
Sing the outro. Boop, 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 boop.